I'm the leader of the NSO product management team, and I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about what we're thinking about for the future. So one of the things we've learned over the last year or so that is change is a constant. Sometimes it's change that you see coming and you plan for, and sometimes it's something that comes out of left field. Uh, we all need to be better at adapting to that change. And the nice thing about automation, it is a tool and a way to help respond quickly to the changes that you're facing, whether they're planned or unplanned. For us, we've been looking at the changes that are coming to the industry and that are coming to how our customers are working, from a kind of broader, more holistic view. So there's always the roadmap piece of, okay, what features and capabilities the customer's asking for. But we're trying to, have a broader view of what kinds of things will make life easier and make life simpler for our users of NSO. It's really come down to four areas, which we see on the slide here. The first at the very end, at the very beginning, is how to buy NSO. And we get that it can be a complicated process with licensing and NEDs and different types of server licenses and the like. And we're really working hard on really simplifying the buying experience, simplifying licensing. I'm not going to talk about it much more right now, but later this year you should see some some simplification on the buying and licensing process. I think everyone will appreciate. The second piece is around learning to use NSO. Get it's a complicated product and it can have a steep learning curve. Over the course of these sessions, you'll see we made a significant effort in labs and training and sample code to help you come up to speed on NSO and its various components, and we'll continue to lean into that, both for NSO itself and also then how to link NSO to other tools and both parts of the Crosswork portfolio as well as external tools like maybe Ansible or Terraform or those kinds of things. Anyway, we see this investment in learning as one of the cornerstones of our strategy. So continue to see more investment on that, and love to hear feedback on the kinds of resources you'll find helpful and where you'd like us to be spending our time and effort. Not finally, the next case is usability. We know NSO is immensely powerful, and now we're spending some time on making it easier to access that power. So things like telemetry and metrics and observability, tools to make it easier to stand up services, redeploy services, essentially more emphasis on operations and the life cycle management beyond just building features into the platform. And finally, there is growth. We thank you for the success that you've allowed us with NSO, and we see that you're adding features, adding capabilities, deploying larger networks, and we're adding the underpinnings to the product to help with that kind of growth and scale. So we're adding capabilities into the platform for building bigger networks, larger nodes, more devices being automated. We're giving you tools to build more sophisticated, more complex services. And then finally, performance, right? The operational cadence, allowing you to execute services more quickly. So those are really where we're spending a lot of our effort and time over the next year and a half on the platform itself. If we look at the broader Crosswork portfolio that NSO is a part of, NSO has primarily lived on the first three stops on this timeline. We've shown you how to automate, tasks like turning up a port. We've shown you how to automate operations of a given router, and then we've given you the tools to automate networking as a whole. If you look at the broader portfolio, we really help you lean into the third and fourth stops on this timeline. CNC becomes a tool to really give you some powerful tools for managing your IP network. And then with the recent Sedona acquisition, we give you optical networking or optical automation capability, and we give you the ability to do cross-domain automation across both your IP and optical networks. Beyond that, one of the things I'll talk a little bit more on the next slide is building connectivity to other parts of the service stack. So automating the infrastructure is great, but ultimately the value comes in the ability to connect that to the tools your line of business is used, for example, to manage their business and interact with their customers. So beyond the product stuff, what are the things that are occupying my time? The first is containers, right? So this is the hot thing everyone is trying to get into. Certainly, we're spending some time looking at this really from two fronts. The first is kind of the basics. How do we automate containers, container deployment, and manage them on the across their life cycle, much as we've done with VMs. The second piece is we recognize people will be using VMs and containers and monolithic code for quite some time. So we're trying to figure out how do you adopt containers into your environment, but still maintain a consistent operational environment, consistent tooling. So your workflows don't have to branch to support containers versus VMs. We think that's important going forward. And as you migrate from VMs to containers, you don't have to refactor your workflows to adapt to that. The second piece is cloud. So everyone is, so cloud is a given, right? Yes, we will do cloud. And you've probably seen investments in Crosswork Cloud from our team with insight and analytics tools. The question becomes, how do we do automation of infrastructure, config management, those kinds of things in the cloud? And there's still a lot of hard questions that we have, and we're working through with customers on things like, security. If you provide cloud-based automation, how do you constrain blast radius, and how do you manage the security concerns that come with that? What kinds of feature capabilities really make sense in the cloud versus what makes sense on-prem? So those are some of the issues and questions that we're working through, and you'll see more from us down the road. Finally, to my earlier point, is building connectivity. So, automation itself has its own networking effect. You have value in being able to automate at the atomic level, but really a lot of the value and benefit comes from being able to link with other tools and other systems, trouble ticketing systems, your application deployment systems, and those kinds of things. And that's where we're spending some time and effort exploring which ecosystem partners we should be adding, what brings value, what do you find interesting. So, beyond the things we'll talk about during these sessions, this is some of the stuff you can expect down the road from us. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of the event.
Hi everybody, my name is Sharon Su. I'm working in NSO team as a QA lead. I have worked in Cisco for more than 10 years and joined the NSO team around 6 years ago. I have led the QA team tested several NSO function pack like mobility, vBranch, SD-WAN, NFVO, and currently I'm working on SMI 5G. I really like NSO product, especially the team. I hope you enjoy the NSO Developer Day. Cheers.
Thank you, Omar. Great presentation. One thing that I'd like to ask you before going into the questions is there anything from the sessions or QA sessions that surprised you today? Or anything that you would like to double click or emphasize?
So I think a couple of things to emphasize. One of the things is building automation tooling is, at the end of the day, it is software development, and the same kind of rigor you use for other software development you should use when you build out your automation tooling and services and those kinds of things. So the things Damiano talked about, I think are very spot on, and he and his team have done a great job of showing how you apply that rigor to really build scalable automation. So, have the tooling in place, do CI, build a CI/CD timeline if that's the kind of development you do. But generally treat it like you're doing any other kind of software development, and it'll make your life simpler down the road. I think the second piece is upgrades are a part of life. So, Ahmed touched on this, make upgrades part of your operational plan. That doesn't mean you have to upgrade every time we release a new version, but keep an eye, on the features and functionality that are out there. Keep an eye on your licensing and when you need to upgrade, but then don't treat it as a surprise or an unplanned event. It really should be part of your larger operational plan. And then finally, we started touching on the tooling. And I think there's some really cool stuff that's coming down the pike in terms of tooling and really improving the user experience for NSO, and definitely check out those resources and see what's there.
So yeah, being the community manager, I'm very much interested to, see the connection between the NSO strategy and the higher level Cisco strategy. And both Kervin and yourself have been talking about Cisco Crossworks.
Mhm.
So I'd like to understand, and I think the community would like to understand, what is the impact for the NSO developer, both long-term and short-term and long-term?
So I think there are a couple of things. We see the scope of automation moving in two directions, right? Part of it is we're starting to build longer and longer workflows where it's not just, the slide I had up in the prior video. We've gone from like tasks on a box to networking as a whole to really starting to build end-to-end workflows across multiple domains. So part of the integration with Crosswork is to enable that, is to have the tooling to start doing multi-domain automation that more closely matches the actual workflows businesses need to stand up. I think the other piece is simplicity. We need to make these things tools easier and easier to learn and deploy, and that's kind of the second part of the investment on that front. And even within the Cisco strategy as a whole is start talking about higher level outcomes and build for that as opposed to being in the weeds.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. A question from the chat is that what is the advantages that you see that NSO brings to the table here in Crossworks?
I think it's the things that have traditionally made us successful and why people are here. I think just off the top of my head, multi-vendor support is still the cornerstone of, I think, the benefit most of our customers see, the ability to have a consistent set of tooling regardless of what the underlying infrastructure looks like. I think the second piece on the other side is on the northbound side is APIs and software interfaces, so it's easy to integrate into whatever else you're running in the rest of your tool chain. I think finally is this community, the tools, you sell yourself short as the community manager. I mean, everything that you do, stuff Jason does, there is really a strong ecosystem around DevNet, DevHub, these types of events that help our customers actually learn the tools and apply them and get help where they need it.
The final question here from the chat is there a plan to support enterprise devices along with the supported service provider devices?
Sure, absolutely. We support enterprises devices right now. I mean, outside of the those 170 different types of NEDs, we're agnostic from that perspective in terms of devices and operating systems and the like that we support.
Great. I think our time is up, and thank you so much for your presentation and for your Q&A session here.